These slides will cover reporting the rate of diversion and amount of water diverted. This is the first screen after reporting the use of water. Not all users will have the maximum rate of diversion data available, as noted in the parentheses. If this data is not available, please skip this section. The maximum rate of diversion is a measurement of the maximum speed or maximum rate of flow at the point of diversion during the month. The rate of flow is measured rather than being a visual estimate. For example, the water right holder can measure gallons per minute using a bucket and a stopwatch. If the user has not measured the rate of diversion, then they will not have data for this section. The data is not mandatory, so please leave this section blank if the rate of diversion has not been measured. We will look at this screen more closely on the following slide. Let's think about the rate data before entering it. The rate data on this page measures the speed of the water. Think about the rate or speed data on this page as being similar to the speed of a car. If a car went 75 miles per hour just once last month, the maximum speed would be 75, although the speed traveled during the rest of the month was slower. Similarly, if the water flowed 75 gallons per day once during the month, this is the maximum rate of diversion to report. The first step is to select the unit of measurement. Click on the drop-down arrow to display the possible units of measurement. After selecting the correct unit for the rate of diversion, enter the diversion rate for each month. When entering the data for each month, be certain the number entered corresponds with the units that were selected on the pull-down menu. The rate data on this current page is completely different than the amount of water on the next page. Do not use the data from the current page in the next section. Select Continue to move to the next page. This screen is used to report the amount of water diverted and used. It is required to report the information on this screen. Data reported on this screen is the amount of water, which is a volume measurement. One way to think about volume or amount is to think about the number of buckets of water. The numbers to be reported on this page cannot be calculated from the numbers on the prior page. The next question asks about the type of diversion. Let's look at this more closely on the next screen. Looking more closely, the user is required to select the type of diversion. Each selection includes a brief description of the type of diversion. The first option, direct diversion, is diversion of water for immediate use or diversion into a tank or reservoir in order to use that water at a more convenient rate. Examples of direct diversion include pumping water from a stream and either using the water immediately or temporarily placing the water into a tank to provide pressure for home use. The second option, diversion to storage, is diversion of water into a tank or reservoir when there is surplus flow and storing the water for use later when the water is not available from the source. Examples of diversion to storage include collecting stream flow into a pond with a dam during rain events, or pumping water from a stream to a storage tank for later use. The third option indicates water is both directly diverted and diverted to storage, a combination of the first two options. The fourth option indicates that no water was diverted under this water right during the reporting year. Select the diversion type for the water right. Looking at the section at the bottom of the page, we can see that this is amount data. It is critical that the data is entered in the correct units of acre-feet. Gallons are much smaller than acre-feet, so gallons cannot be used to report in this section. All columns in this section require data in acre-feet. A calculator is provided in the blue box at the top of the page to convert gallons to acre-feet. Enter the amount in gallons into the first space in the blue box. Then, click the Convert to Acre-Feet button. This will convert the gallon amount to a value in acre-feet. The blue box calculator does not copy down into the page. The user should copy and paste or type the acre-feet figure into the page below. As mentioned, this amount is similar to buckets of water and cannot be calculated from the rate of diversion on the prior page. Let's look at the columns at the bottom of this page on the next few slides. The water use section at the bottom of the page contains 3 columns. As mentioned, the first column, direct diversion, is diversion of water for immediate use or diversion into a tank or reservoir in order to use that water at a more convenient rate. The second option, diverted to storage, is diversion of water into a tank or reservoir when there is surplus flow and keeping the water for use when water is not available from the source. The third column is to report the amount of water used for each month. The third use column is not necessarily the sum of the first 2 columns. For example, water can be diverted to storage in one month and used in a later month. In this case and others, the third amount used column is not a sum of the first 2 columns. Let's continue to look at these 3 columns. The places to enter data may be grayed out depending on the type of diversion that was selected under the type of diversion at the top of the page. For example, on this page, under type of diversion, the first choice was selected, indicating that there was only direct diversion. By selecting direct diversion only at the top, the first column for direct diversion is ready for data, and the second column for diversion to storage is grayed out, so no data can be entered. Similarly, if the second option, diversion to storage only, is selected at the top, then the first column for direct diversion will be grayed out and the second column will be ready for data. This slide shows that if the fourth option, no water was diverted, is selected at the top, the first 2 columns will be grayed out, but the user must still enter the amount of water used in the lower right column. If 0 is entered for all of the columns, then the user needs to provide an explanation in the area below the columns. In review, this amount of water diverted and used page is an important page of the report. The user enters quantity or amount data that cannot be calculated from the prior rate page. The data needs to be in acre-feet. Use the calculator at the top to convert gallons to acre-feet. Enter the acre-feet value in the columns below. Be careful when hand typing to get the right number of digits and the decimal point in the correct place. The columns may be grayed out depending on the selection under type of diversion. Before continuing to the next page, Be sure all numbers are entered in acre-feet. Entering gallons will result in an incorrect report. Blank spaces will stop the report system from continuing, and a 0 can be entered if no water was diverted or used. This completes an important obligation of reporting the amount of water that was used for a water right. The next video will continue with the pages used to report water transfers, contracts, and storage.